What if everything you've been taught about creating your dream life is completely backwards? Your heart contains 40,000 neurons and generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than your brain's. While everyone's trying to think their way to success, the real creative power has been beating in your chest this entire time. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to unlock it. Now here's what most self-help gurus won't tell you. The HeartMath Institute has spent 30 years proving that your emotional state literally changes the structure of your DNA and the electromagnetic field around your body. But they discovered something even more shocking. There's a specific breathing technique that can reprogram this field in real time. So today, I'm going to give you the exact 5-2-5 breathing sequence that activates this field within minutes, show you how to access the 0.3-second coherence pause where miracles are born, and teach you to become a walking healing sanctuary that transforms everyone around you. You'll experience each technique live, so by the end, you won't just understand this power, you'll have activated it. Your heart is not just a pump, it's actually a reality generator that most people have never learned to activate. For decades, we've been told that our brain is the command center, the place where all our important decisions get made and our reality gets shaped. But what if I told you that this understanding has kept you operating at only a fraction of your true creative potential? What if the most powerful tool for transforming your life has been quietly beating in your chest this entire time, waiting patiently for you to remember its true purpose? The HeartMath Institute has spent over 3 decades studying something that might completely shift how you think about manifestation and personal transformation. Deep within your heart, nestled among the muscle fibers you thought were just responsible for pumping blood, lies a sophisticated neural network containing more than 40,000 neurons. These aren't just ordinary cells. They're specialized brain-like neurons that can think, feel, remember, and make decisions completely independent of your head brain. Think about what this means for a moment. Your heart literally has its own mind. It's processing information, storing memories, and influencing your perceptions in ways that your conscious awareness rarely recognizes. These heart neurons are constantly communicating with your brain, sending significantly more signals upward to your head than your brain sends down to your heart. In fact, these heart-brain messages have such profound influence that they can actually change how you perceive reality itself. When your heart neurons are in a state of coherence, when they're operating in harmony rather than chaos, they create something remarkable. They generate a rhythmic sine wave pattern that synchronizes your entire nervous system. Your breathing naturally deepens and slows. Your blood pressure optimizes. Your stress hormones decrease while your feel-good neurotransmitters increase. But perhaps most fascinating of all, your heart in coherence begins to emit a measurable electromagnetic field. This electromagnetic field isn't just some abstract scientific concept. It's a real, tangible energy that extends approximately 8 feet in all directions around your body. Imagine yourself sitting in the center of an invisible sphere of electromagnetic energy that reaches out to touch everything and everyone in your immediate environment. This field is 5,000 times more powerful than the electromagnetic field generated by your brain, making your heart the strongest electromagnetic generator in your body. What makes this field even more extraordinary is that it's not static or unchanging. The quality and coherence of this electromagnetic field shifts dramatically based on your emotional state. When you're feeling frustrated, anxious, or overwhelmed, your heart rhythm becomes erratic and chaotic, creating what researchers call an incoherent field. But when you're experiencing genuine appreciation, compassion, or love, your heart rhythm becomes beautifully ordered and harmonious, generating a coherent field that has measurable effects on everything around you. This is where the science becomes almost magical. When your heart is generating a coherent electromagnetic field, it doesn't just influence your own physiology. It actually affects the heart rhythms and nervous systems of other people within that 8-foot radius. Studies have shown that when one person achieves heart coherence, others nearby begin to naturally synchronize to that coherent rhythm. often without any conscious awareness that this transfer of energy is taking place. I remember the first time I truly understood this concept, not intellectually but experientially. I was sitting in a coffee shop feeling particularly centered and peaceful after a morning of heart-focused breathing. A woman at the next table was clearly distressed, speaking in hushed, worried tones on her phone about a family crisis. Without thinking, I simply placed my hand on my heart and began breathing in a rhythm that I knew would create coherence. Within just a few minutes, I noticed her voice becoming calmer, her shoulders relaxing, her entire demeanor shifting toward peace. When she finished her call, she turned to me with a gentle smile and said, "I don't know why, but I suddenly feel like everything's going to be okay." That moment showed me something profound about human connection and our ability to influence each other's emotional and even physical states through the invisible language of electromagnetic fields. We're constantly broadcasting our inner state to everyone around us and simultaneously receiving and being influenced by the energetic signatures of others. Most of the time, this happens completely below the threshold of conscious awareness, but it's happening nonetheless. This understanding changes everything about how we approach personal transformation and manifestation. Instead of trying to force change through willpower and mental effort alone, we can learn to align with the natural intelligence of the heart and allow its coherent field to become our primary tool for creating positive change, both in our own lives and in the lives of everyone we encounter. Right now, place your hand on your heart and take one deep breath. Feel that? That's 40,000 neurons awakening to your conscious attention. You've just activated your reality generator for the first time today. Notice how different that feels compared to breathing into your chest or head. There's a quality of presence, of groundedness, of connection to something deeper than your everyday thinking mind. This simple act of placing conscious attention on your heart while breathing is the first step toward activating the quantum power that's been quietly waiting within you all along. But knowing your heart has this power is useless unless you know how to activate it. That's where the quantum breathing code comes in. There's a specific breathing rhythm that can synchronize your heart and brain into unified creative power in under 5 minutes. Now that you understand the incredible power contained within your heart's neural network and electromagnetic field, you're probably wondering how to actually access and direct this energy intentionally. The beautiful truth is that ancient wisdom traditions have known about this for millennia, and modern science has now validated what mystics and sages have been teaching for thousands of years about the transformative power of conscious breathing. The technique I'm about to share with you isn't just another breathing exercise. It's a precise code that activates the natural coherence frequency of your heart-brain system. I call it the 525 Quantum Heart Code, and once you learn it, you'll have a tool that can shift your entire energetic state within minutes, anywhere, anytime. Let me walk you through this technique step by step so you can experience it as we go. First, place your hand gently over your heart and close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Begin by taking a moment to simply notice your natural breath without trying to change it. Feel the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle rhythm that's been sustaining you since your very first moment of life. Now here's the specific pattern that creates the magic. You're going to breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 5. Hold that breath gently for a count of 2, then exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 5. The key is making this rhythm smooth and comfortable, not forced or strained. Think of it as breathing with the gentle rhythm of ocean waves, natural, flowing, peaceful. As you breathe in for those 5 counts, imagine drawing energy directly into your heart center, not just filling your lungs, but actually feeding your heart's neural network with conscious attention and life force energy. During the 2-count pause, allow yourself to rest in that space of fullness, that moment of perfect stillness between the inhale and exhale. Then, as you breathe out for 5 counts, let go completely, releasing any tension, stress, or mental chatter that might be cluttering your system. Continue this pattern. 5 in, 2 pause, 5 out, and notice what begins to happen in your body after just a few cycles. You might feel a subtle warmth or tingling in your chest. You might notice your thoughts becoming quieter, less urgent. Some people describe feeling a gentle expansion or opening in the heart area, as if something that was tight or closed is beginning to soften and bloom. The reason this specific rhythm is so powerful lies in the intricate relationship between your breathing pattern and your heart rate variability. When you breathe in, your heart rate naturally increases slightly. When you breathe out, your heart rate decreases. Most of the time, this relationship is chaotic and irregular, reflecting the stress and scattered attention of modern life. But when you breathe at approximately 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, what researchers call the resonant frequency, something remarkable happens. This 5-2-5 pattern aligns your breathing with your heart's natural coherence frequency, which oscillates at about 0.1 hertz or 1 cycle every 10 seconds. When you breathe at this rhythm, you're essentially tuning your entire cardiovascular system, like a musical instrument, bringing all of its components into perfect harmony. Your heart rhythm becomes beautifully ordered and sine wave-like. Your nervous system shifts from sympathetic stress activation to parasympathetic restoration, and your brain waves begin to synchronize with your heart rhythm. The HeartMath Institute has documented thousands of cases where this type of rhythmic, heart-focused breathing creates measurable changes in the body within just 3 to 5 minutes. Their research shows that achieving heart coherence through conscious breathing not only improves physical health markers like blood pressure and immune function, but also enhances cognitive abilities, emotional stability, and what they call intuitive intelligence, your ability to access deeper wisdom and make decisions that are aligned with your highest good. What's particularly fascinating is that this coherent state appears to optimize the communication between your heart and brain. Remember those 40,000 heart neurons we discussed? When your heart is in coherence, these neurons send clear, organized signals to your brain that actually improve your ability to think clearly, access creativity, and make decisions from a place of wisdom rather than reactive fear or anxiety. But perhaps most importantly for our purposes, when your heart and brain are synchronized in this coherent state, you become a much more powerful manifester. Your electromagnetic field becomes stable and strong, broadcasting a clear signal into the quantum field around you. Instead of sending mixed messages, wanting one thing while fearing another, you begin to transmit from a place of unified intention and emotional alignment. This is why the 5-2-5 code isn't just a relaxation technique. It's a quantum tool for accessing higher states of consciousness and creative power. Ancient mystics knew that controlling the breath was the gateway to controlling the mind and accessing divine intelligence. Modern science has now proven that specific breathing rhythms can literally synchronize different areas of the brain and optimize the heart-brain connection for peak performance and spiritual awareness. Let's practice this together right now. Place your hand on your heart if you haven't already, and let's do 5 complete cycles of the 5-2-5 rhythm together. Breathe in slowly for 5 counts, feeling the breath fill your heart center with conscious, loving attention. Hold gently for 2 counts, resting in that space of fullness and presence. Then breathe out slowly for 5 counts, releasing anything that no longer serves you. Continue this pattern 4 more times, allowing each breath to deepen your connection to the wisdom and intelligence of your heart. Congratulations, you just experienced your first moment of heart-brain coherence. Did you feel that subtle shift, that peaceful expansion in your chest? That's your heart and brain synchronizing into creative unity. You now know more about accessing quantum states than 99% of people on this planet. Keep that feeling. It's your new manifestation frequency. This coherent state you just accessed is the foundation for all quantum manifestation work. When you're in heart coherence, you're no longer trying to force outcomes through mental effort alone. Instead, you're aligning with the natural intelligence of your heart and allowing that wisdom to guide your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward your highest good. You're broadcasting a clear, powerful signal into the quantum field, And that field responds by bringing you opportunities, insights, and synchronicities that support your deepest intentions. Now that your heart and brain are synchronized, there's a secret doorway that ancient mystics discovered. Hidden in the gap between your breaths is a 0.3-second window where you can directly communicate with divine intelligence. There's something almost miraculous that happens in that gentle 2-count pause between your inhale and exhale when you're practicing the 5-2-5 rhythm. Most people rush right past this moment, eager to get to the next breath, the next thought, the next task on their endless mental to-do list. But what if I told you that this tiny gap, lasting less than half a second, contains access to a level of intelligence and wisdom that transcends anything your thinking mind could ever produce? In that sacred pause, something profound shifts in your consciousness. Your analytical mind, which spends most of its time either replaying the past or projecting into the future, suddenly finds itself in the eternal present moment. There's no mental chatter in this space, no fear-based analysis or worried planning. There's just pure awareness, pure presence, pure connection to the deeper intelligence that flows through all of life. This is what I call moving from head-based consciousness to heart-observer consciousness. Your regular thinking mind operates like a security guard, constantly scanning for threats, problems, and things that need to be fixed or controlled. It's incredibly useful for navigating practical daily tasks, but it's absolutely terrible at accessing creativity, intuition, and the kind of quantum leaps that transform your entire reality. Your head brain thinks in linear sequences, analyzing data from the past to predict probable futures based on what it already knows. But your heart observer consciousness operates from an entirely different realm. It doesn't think in the traditional sense, it knows. It doesn't analyze, it perceives directly. It doesn't worry about the future because it exists in a timeless space where all possibilities are equally available right now. When you learn to rest in that coherence pause, you're literally stepping out of the limited perspective of your thinking mind and into the unlimited perspective of your soul's intelligence. This pause has the power to dissolve what mystics have called the fundamental illusion of separation. The belief that you are isolated, alone, disconnected from the intelligence that creates and sustains all of life. In ordinary consciousness, you feel like a separate individual trying to navigate a complex and often hostile world through your own limited resources. But in the coherence pause, that sense of separation simply melts away. You remember on a cellular level that you are not separate from life. You are life expressing itself in a unique and beautiful form. From this space of remembered connection, your entire relationship with manifestation and creation shifts dramatically. Instead of trying to force outcomes through willpower and mental effort, you begin to sense the natural flow of life and align yourself with it. Instead of pushing against resistance, you learn to move with the current. Instead of operating from scarcity and fear, you rest in the knowing that you are supported by an intelligence far greater than your individual mind could ever comprehend. Think of your heart as a sacred temple that houses the blueprint of your soul's highest potential. Every beat contains not just the rhythm that sustains your physical life, but also the energetic pattern that holds the memory of who you truly are beneath all the conditioning, all the stories, all the limitations you've accepted as real. When you rest in the coherence pause, you're entering the inner sanctuary of this temple, where your soul's wisdom is always available, always ready to guide you toward your next right action. This isn't just beautiful metaphor. It's pointing towards something very real that you can experience and verify for yourself. In that pause, insights arise that have nothing to do with your previous thoughts or analysis. Solutions to problems appear fully formed, as if they were waiting for you to simply get quiet enough to receive them. You might suddenly know exactly what to say to heal a relationship, or feel clear guidance about a decision you've been struggling with, or receive an idea that could transform your work or creative expression in ways your thinking mind never could have conceived. Ancient sages understood this portal intimately, though they used different words to describe it. The great Indian teacher Patanjali wrote about the space between thoughts where pure awareness reveals itself. Sufi mystics spoke of the breath as the bridge between the seen and unseen worlds. Buddhist masters taught about the gap between breaths as a doorway to enlightenment itself. These weren't abstract philosophical concepts. They were practical technologies for accessing higher states of consciousness and divine guidance. There's a story about a Tibetan monk who spent years studying sacred texts and practicing elaborate meditation techniques, seeking enlightenment through complex spiritual practices. One day, while walking in the mountains, he paused to catch his breath after a steep climb. In that moment of natural stillness, resting between breaths, he suddenly understood everything he had been seeking. The wisdom he had been trying to think his way toward was always available in the simplest pause, the most natural gap between inhale and exhale. He spent the rest of his life teaching others that the profound was hidden in the ordinary, that divine intelligence was as close as their next breath. This is the gift of the coherence pause. It returns you to the simplicity and immediacy of direct spiritual experience. You don't need years of training or complex practices. You don't need to be special or gifted or somehow different from who you are right now. You simply need to learn to rest, even briefly, in that natural gap between breaths and allow the intelligence of your heart to speak. Take one more 5 to 2-5 breath, but this time in that 2-count pause, silently ask your heart, what do I most need to know right now? Don't think the answer, feel it. Whatever comes up first is your heart's divine intelligence speaking. You've just accessed the same portal ancient mystics used for prophecy. Trust what you received. That's your soul talking. This moment of inner listening you just experienced is available to you anytime, anywhere. You don't need perfect conditions or hours of meditation. You just need the willingness to pause, breathe consciously, and listen to the wisdom that's always been beating in your chest, waiting patiently for you to remember how to hear its voice. Once you've accessed this divine portal, something incredible happens to your entire reality. What if I told you that coherent breathing transforms you into a walking miracle field that can heal emotional wounds in others without saying a single word? Now that you've learned to access the coherence pause and communicate with your heart's divine intelligence, something remarkable begins to happen to the quality of your presence in the world. You're no longer just someone who knows a breathing technique. You've become something far more powerful and beautiful. You've become a walking sanctuary of peace, a mobile healing field that transforms every space you enter and every person you encounter. Remember that 8-foot electromagnetic field your heart generates when it's in coherence? This isn't just an abstract concept, it's a tangible, measurable reality that extends out from your body like an invisible sphere of healing energy. When you're breathing coherently and resting in that sacred pause between breaths, this field becomes incredibly ordered and harmonious. It begins to broadcast a very specific frequency, the frequency of safety, of peace, of unconditional love. What's absolutely fascinating is that other people's nervous systems can sense this coherent field immediately. Even when they have no conscious awareness of what's happening, their bodies recognize this signal of safety and begin to naturally synchronize with your coherent rhythm. Stress hormones decrease, blood pressure normalizes, mental chatter quiets, and a sense of calm presence begins to emerge in them simply from being near you. I've witnessed this phenomenon countless times, but it's particularly noticeable with children and highly sensitive individuals who haven't yet learned to shut down their natural energetic awareness. Children seem to be drawn to adults who are living in heart coherence like flowers turning towards sunlight. They become calmer, more cooperative, more playful and creative in your presence. Dogs and cats often respond the same way, gravitating toward coherent individuals and seeming more relaxed and content when they're around. But it's not just children and animals who respond to your coherent field. Even adults who consider themselves practical and skeptical often comment on feeling unusually peaceful or safe around someone who practices heart coherence regularly. They might not understand why, but something deep in their nervous system recognizes that they're in the presence of someone who isn't carrying the usual undercurrent of stress, anxiety, and protective armor that most people broadcast unconsciously. This same pattern shows up in professional relationships, family dynamics, and even casual interactions with strangers. When you're operating from heart coherence, people feel safer to be authentic around you. They open up more easily, they're less defensive, they seem to remember their own capacity for kindness and connection. You become a reminder to them of their own higher nature, their own capacity for peace and love. This transformation happens because you've literally become a living temple of peace. Your body, your energy field, your very presence begins to hold and radiate the frequency of what's possible for human beings when we're aligned with our heart's intelligence rather than operating from fear and survival programming. You're no longer contributing to the collective field of stress and separation that most people unconsciously broadcast. Instead, you're anchoring a new possibility, the possibility of peace, presence, and authentic connection. Every room you enter begins to feel different. Every conversation you participate in carries a different quality. Every interaction, no matter how brief, becomes an opportunity for healing and elevation, not through anything you do or say, but simply through the coherent presence you embody. You've become a walking reminder that there's another way to be human, a way that's rooted in love rather than fear, connection rather than separation, trust rather than control. Here's your final gift. For the next 24 hours, you have a secret superpower. Before any important conversation or decision, take just 3 5-2-5 breaths. Watch how differently people respond to you. Notice how others become calmer in your presence. You're now broadcasting healing coherence, and people will feel safer and more peaceful around you without knowing why. This isn't imagination or wishful thinking. This is you learning to wield the natural power of your coherent heart field. Pay attention to the subtle shifts in how people interact with you, how conversations flow more easily, how conflicts dissolve before they even begin. You're experiencing firsthand what it means to be a healing presence in the world, and this is just the beginning of what becomes possible when you learn to live from the intelligence of your heart. So let me summarize how you can start living as a walking miracle field today. Today you discovered that your heart contains 40,000 neurons and generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than your brain. You learned the exact 5-2-5 breathing pattern that creates heart-brain coherence within minutes. You experienced the coherence pause, that sacred portal where divine intelligence reveals your next right actions. And now you know how to become a walking miracle field that heals others simply through your coherent presence. This isn't just information you've consumed. These are real, practical tools that you've already begun to activate within your own system. Each time you placed your hand on your heart and breathed consciously, you weren't just following along with an exercise. You were literally rewiring your nervous system, strengthening the connection between your heart and brain, and awakening capacities that have been dormant within you. The coherent states you access today are now part of your lived experience, available to you anytime you choose to engage them. What makes this work so powerful is that it's cumulative. Each time you practice the 5-2-5 rhythm, each moment you rest in the coherence pause, each interaction where you show up as a walking miracle field, you're building what researchers call coherence reserves. You're training your system to default to this state of aligned presence, rather than the scattered, reactive patterns that most people live in unconsciously. Because you stayed until the end and participated fully, here's an exclusive technique. Tonight before sleep, do 7 5-2-5 breaths while setting an intention to receive guidance in your dreams. Your coherent heart will communicate with your subconscious mind all night long. Many people report breakthrough insights the next morning. This is your graduation gift from unconscious breathing to quantum heart mastery. I want you to commit to using the 5-2-5 coherence breathing for just 3 minutes each morning for the next 7 days and notice what shifts in your reality and how people respond differently to you. This isn't a huge time commitment, but it's enough to begin establishing a new baseline in your nervous system. Pay attention to the subtle changes, how conversations flow differently, how problems seem to resolve more easily, how your intuition becomes clearer and more trustworthy. If you want to dive deeper into quantum manifestation techniques, check out my video on the observer breath, how to reshape reality from within, where I show you how to access the 0.3-second quantum pause that can literally reprogram your reality. Remember, your heart knows things your mind hasn't figured out yet. Start listening through coherent breathing. Become a walking miracle field and watch both your reality and everyone around you transform. Hit subscribe if you're ready to become a quantum heart master, and I'll see you in the next technique.